the gaming community is the most engaged community.
Hi, welcome to Overheard on Social by The Goat Agency, the podcast that explores social media marketing tips, influencer marketing news, pop culture, and interesting chats with interesting people, but without taking itself too seriously. I'm Jo. I'm here with my co-host, Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hey, do you want a fun fact?
Yes.
Lara Croft.
No, don't
No,
go
we'll
with
get
this
onto that
one.
later.
You know.
Do you know this fact?
I don't know.
Right,
well, I was waiting.
We're talking about gaming.
Yeah.
They
Well,
tried
you've
to.
ruined it for everyone for the intro, but yeah.
Sorry.
You've told me this fact 3 times today.
The developers of the early Lara Croft tried to make her breasts 50% bigger.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying whether that's good or bad. Instead, they accidentally made them 150% bigger. Hence why she has large breasts in the original.
The proportions are not there.
It was a miscalculation.
Yeah.
So that's my fun
At
fact.
least that's what they tell people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of misogyny.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
Great start.
Really good way to start. So this is an episode of Goat Talks.
Yeah.
So today we're doing Goat Talks Gaming, and to help us, we have 2 members of the Goat team. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Sam Fowler. I'm an account director here at the Goat Agency. Been here for coming up to 7 years.
Oh, part of the furniture.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah, I'm Don Percy and I'm on the strategy team. Not been here as long as Sam, but I work on most of the gaming stuff we're doing. So yeah, hello.
Great. So to kick off, I thought I would ask, why do you think we should be talking about gaming and the opportunities for brands right now?
I think gaming, believe it or not, is actually quite an easy one for brands to work themselves into. I think there is opportunity. People think about gaming and think about just console. That's not the only way that you can do it. You can make something that's interactive, fun, mobile. Thank you. Beautifully modelled by Matt there, holding up a mobile phone. But yeah, there's so much that you can do. And I think the gaming in itself has come along so much in the past 5 to 10 years probably in regards to where it holds itself in pop culture, whereas it used to be quite different and separated from the likes of films and music, whereas now I think it's very much treated as one whole being almost, and gaming is a part of that. So yeah, I think it's a key part to be across, really.
We see a lot of brands moving into this just because there's a lot of moments where you can put a brand in. Lots of big platforms like Roblox and Fortnite, of course, are moving into this as well and doing tons of big brand activations and interactive elements. And it's a great way to reach those younger audiences as well, and show that you're still trying to be relevant with people who have obviously completely different interests to things that were going on not even too long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. For kind of full transparency, I don't really know anything about gaming. I played a bit of The Sims while I was growing up. Dance Mat.
You never had an Xbox?
No, I had a
PS3?
PlayStation
You did?
at one
Yeah.
point, but all I played on it was The Simpsons.
Hit and run.
Hit
and run,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, in the magic bag, is it? Is it?
There is a bag.
Is it in the magic bag?
Is it in there?
Wow.
Oh my
Magic
God.
bag.
Reunited.
There you go. Simpsons
loved
Hit
that
and
game.
Run. Definitely couldn't get made today just on the title alone, probably. Let's just bear that in mind. This, I argue, is one of the best games that I genuinely
It's
would
so
put
good.
down as my childhood.
But
Yes.
you know, like I was a kid playing. How old would we have been? 12 when it came out?
Yeah, probably about that, yeah.
And you knew as a 12-year-old that you were
Yeah.
playing something quite phenomenal.
But
Yeah.
it's 7+. Think about the title of this game at the time.
And
But
the
because
concept.
You're
it's
like
cartoon,
running into old ladies.
Yeah, yeah.
because it's a
You
cartoon.
got points for it.
Totally fine. No
you got
problem.
the disc in there and everything.
Yeah, of course, the whole game's in there. I wouldn't just
Give me-
bring across an empty
Give
box.
me the disc. Just
No,
the
because
disc.
you might snap it.
This is probably quite hard to get a hold of nowadays.
Yeah.
Oh, believe
think?
me, that game, the amount of times, and again, we're talking about brands that can get into games and things like that. Like this was when really it started to happen with pop culture icons like The Simpsons making their way over, and even on the PlayStation as well. You think about this one. Before you had this, you also had Simpsons Wrestling, which was on PS1 as well. And again, you've got The Simpsons in on your beck and call in your home, much like at the times they would have it on VHS. Like at the back of that, you can see The Simpsons is advertised on that slip that you're holding.
Yeah,
on the back of
this
that.
really brings me back. God, like
Yeah.
physical.
Imagine getting instructions to a game now. Anyway, back of that, look, advertisement.
Simpsons season 3 on DVD.
Now on DVD.
You can go a step further in instructions. Imagine getting a game and being able to put it in and play it.
Yeah, exactly.
What, is that rare now?
This may sound like a stupid question, but does that not happen anymore?
The game's basically irrelevant almost at this point. Like the actual disc, you'll put it in and it will need to do hours worth of updates sometimes for you to actually start playing.
It's really changed.
Because I think Joe is a game novice.
Yeah.
I think
I understand gaming from like a marketing perspective. So we've done quite a bit of like marketing content around gaming, but as in like my knowledge of games itself is terrible. Like The Sims was and Hiss and Run was.
But do you do mobile?
No,
Candy Crush or
never
Disney
Candy
Emoji
Crush.
Blitz,
My
none of
mum
them?
plays a bit of Candy Crush. I played a bit of Harry Potter on the PC when I was younger. But yeah, that I would say that's really like the extent.
My experience level is like I had a few consoles when I was growing up. I never really got into it, but you guys are the experts.
Yeah. What about you? What would you say is your?
Well, first off, I feel like I've got to give you that, Joe. So you said Harry Potter. So there's Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, another fantastic game on the Xbox. Severely underrated, better than the predecessor as well. But there you go. You wanted that one, so there you go. Sorry, the question was.
Well, I want to find out what your expertise level is in gaming. So I've got a few quick fire questions, if you don't mind.
Go for it. This is where we're going to.
Are we answering these at the same time, or
are we are we against each other? Classic gamers. We want to know what the concept of the game is.
Why don't we go? We'll start with you. So we'll go.
Okay, I'm really worried I'm going to
embarrass you.
Yeah.
Just what are you currently playing?
I am currently playing RimWorld on PC.
What? Excuse me? There are children
when
watching
you say
this.
it out loud, do you know what I mean?
Is that a 7+ game as well?
There's the promo clip.
You playing with this with your fiance?
No, I'm not. Jesus Christ. But that's what it's called.
Yeah.
I thought about it when I said it, but that is what I am playing.
Wait, what is RimWorld?
Maybe I should pick another title. Should I pick another title?
What's another game you're playing?
Yeah, should I pick another title?
No, I really want to hear about RimWorld.
So what it is that you crash land on a planet with 3 survivors from a crash landing, and you have to build out an entire colony on that map, survive raiders coming in, survive animals coming at you, and you slowly start to research like how to create your own electricity, stuff like that, and you literally start to build up your own little town, which I grant from the title you probably wouldn't have got that.
Why did they call it that?
Because I think it's the whole thing of being like on the outer rim of the galaxy almost.
Yeah. Clearly, certain people in the gaming industry just aren't getting any. So.
No, exactly. But honest to God, I've, on Steam now, I think I've logged about 98 hours.
Is this the gamer's equivalent of Strava?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, we'll come on to what Steam is maybe later. But yeah, basically that, yeah.
Okay, quickly. Desert Island, one game.
One.
Harry Potter.
I think I'm going to have to go with Balatro.
Which we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
we'll come on to that.
And my brain just went through like a million different things then. And then I was like, but I won't have internet. I imagine otherwise,
All-time best console.
It's the best console, but I never actually had it. But it was the PlayStation 2. I never had a PlayStation 2.
Whenever a new one came out, we'd cycle. So we sold our PS1 and bought a PS2.
Yeah.
And then, we just sort of moved through all the handhelds, through the DSs up to PSPs.
See, I had a PS1, which is beautifully modelled behind Joe's head over there. And then I decided, I made a deal with my dad at my year 6 SATs. And I said, if I get 555, can I get a Xbox? And he said, yes. And then next thing you know, he drove me straight to Argos once I picked up my results because I did get that. So bribery works, parents. It works, and you'll see the results of that. So, and then I switched over to Xbox till the PS4.
So to go back to sort of basics then, for me as a bit of a novice, what are like the genres of games that you would, because I understand there's like mobile, PS3,
console. That would be console.
Okay, well we've jumped back by a decade by saying the PS3, but fair enough.
Genres as in, you have your PC, console, mobile. They're, I guess, more.
Yeah, the kind of wider.
Yeah, that's the platform. Yeah.
Okay.
But then within that, you have basically as many genres as you would have with film and TV. You've got first-person shooter like Call of Duty. There's horror games like Five Nights at Freddy's, and they can obviously become wildly successful into production films now. role-playing games.
Like RimWorld.
Yeah.
No, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a good example of that sort of game.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3, you'd say that a sandbox game is
Like
more of your
Minecraft.
Minecraft on your Roblox as well. So you can create your own world and do your own thing. And then you've got strategy games, which are more like your Total Wars and things like that as well.
What's the one with the things, the blocks that come down and
Tetris.
Retro.
Didn't somebody
They'd just be
win
retro
Tetris
now.
for the first time
I'm not sure.
last year? Who was
I
the
do
gaming?
apologise.
This is
Right.
a fun fact
No,
that
I'm
we
sure
don't
this
know.
was a news thing that for the first time ever someone completed Tetris.
I didn't know that was possible, but
That's what I mean. Is
Wow.
that like I'm?
oh,
Yeah,
but I
I
do
dunno.
know. I've got it written here. There is the highest score you can possibly achieve on Pac-Man. Does anyone know? Like, if you're a proper game nerd, I guess you'd know.
You'd be wrong.
Yeah, so you called
Because I think
us
you're
out here.
also judging us by our age as well. There's Pac-Man, and then there's
Yeah,
PlayStation.
you're
and stuff
talking
like
about
that.
like my dad when he was younger than I am now in the arcades.
Sure. Well, it's 3,333,360.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Very
There we
good.
go.
That
Very
60 is
good.
important at the end.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So last year, a 13-year-old became the first person to beat all the levels of Tetris.
And his name was Willis, if I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Sorry.
147 levels.
Yeah. And there's also the games, you might have said this right, that are like the RimWorlds, where farming and like creating communities
Simulators.
and towns and things like that. Because
Yeah.
I know that that's something that women tend to like stereotypically do more of those types of games.
So the likes of the
versus-
Sims and
Yeah.
simulator games, and you can get like, I mean, my word, there's people on Twitch that will stream things like Farming Simulator for hours on hours, and all it is doing is, they will literally sow wheat crop and then wait for it to be harvestable, and then bring their truck back over, get there over, and then unload it, then sell it, and then start the whole thing again. And people absolutely love it. And like as a gamer, like I can understand when people can get into games. Like last night I was playing a game and I looked at my watch and then I looked back at the screen. I was playing, and then next thing you know, I'm like, oh, there's 2.5 hours that have gone. Wow, okay. But the one that really strikes me where I'm like, I don't know how people can play this is Trucking Simulator or the Euro Truck Simulator.
Or Flight Simulator.
Or Flight
People
Simulator.
flying from Heathrow
Yeah.
to Orlando
What that like in
People-
real time?
But
in
what-
real
But
time.
people do it in real time.
And they'll
You can
stream
do
it.
a faster version where it's like, okay, we've reduced it and it'll only be 45 minutes of you flying or something like that. But you can have an option where you go fly in real time, and people will sit there in the full setup and they will fly that plane to Orlando,
Across the
9
Atlantic,
hours, no
nothing-
stopover in Dallas.
Nothing to look at.
But why?
I always, do you know what? My argument to that, I've got a real, well, I think it's a good answer for this.
Why do people watch EastEnders?
There's that. Why do people watch EastEnders? It's because of the drama and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Whereas where people are getting involved in the community and people discussing it while they're doing it, actually what they're doing is they're sitting with their friends while they do stuff. Things might go wrong, things might go well, but they're part of that storyline while they're interacting with it. My biggest thing when I speak to my fiance and she'll be like, oh, I'm 32 this year and stuff like that. Like, why are we still gaming and stuff like that? I can't tell you. I can't get on with meditation apps and stuff like that. But if I play a simulation game or something like that, and it's an hour,
Yeah.
instantly my mood is changed, it's leveled, peaceful, done. And the other thing that I should really call out to everybody before any more questions come my way, I do play games with friends, but I would say 80% of my time I am playing on my own. I'm playing solo because that's just the way that I game, because of me playing strategy games and stuff like that.
That would be where there's a difference then, because most of mine is usually played online with
There you go.
one or two friends, so I can spend time with them
I'm
doing
what
it.
they would call maybe a cozy gamer. Give me some Stardew Valley and some Animal Crossing here and there, because I'll be a happy bunny.
Yeah. Whereas are you more like kind of
Yeah, well, I
immersive?
live down in Plymouth, so quite far away from a lot of my friends. So going online and playing with them is a good time for me to socialize and have a chat with them and catch up as well, the way you would with like a phone call or something. But if it means that we can have some entertainment and play a game at the same time, then
Yeah.
so it's a win-win.
There was actually a lot of research that said that men were less lonely during lockdown
Definitely.
because they played more games and interacted with their friends.
I would say that it was the most hours I'd logged on my games console, but not because I was bored, but it was because It was the way that I could meet up with my mates and just have a chat. Like, there are so many, like, Minecraft was never a game I would have played, but it's now still so nostalgic for me from that time, because I can log on to that and see all the different things. We built a Colosseum in the Minecraft that we would literally put like spawner mobs into the middle, and we would just fight them and stuff like that. And it like we did that all the way through, and it was just like, okay.
I totally just realized that every time you said Minecraft, thought you meant Minesweeper. Which, do you remember?
You're thinking about the grid box where, interesting. Okay.
We're
currently in the IT room in the 90s.
I was going to say, we're going to need like a little pause and then your face in a circle explaining what spawner mobs are there as well. I saw Matt, you lost him.
Yeah, I know. I saw his face when I said spawner mobs.
I just imagine you and your friends like at home for hours in lockdown, like, oh, he's clicked
all playing
another
Minecraft.
side.
Yeah, it's like battleships. It's like, oh, you got it. Well done. But
No. Okay, look, I think gaming definitely went through an evolution.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it a time period, where it went from quite a solitary endeavor to basically what is a social experience.
Of course.
Right? Where you've got the rise of Twitch, commentaries, streamers, and you're building online communities. So can you talk about that shift? Like that's a pretty big inflection point in gaming.
Yeah, I think that obviously with the internet coming in, and we are jumping back quite a bit there, of course, people then started realizing that they could make these games that they could play online with other people. And a big part of that as well, I guess, was also just how competitive the gaming space is. So knowing that you were no longer the best because you could see what other people in the entire world were doing meant that it sort of brought out all these different competitive games. There was, Quake and Unreal Tournament, and all these things went online, and all these first-person shooters started coming up. And of course, that's now turned into this multi-billion-dollar global crazy esports thing that we've got going on across all these different games now. But most of it is usually because people are just trying to not only be entertained but improve their skill. And I guess you hit a certain point when you're more doing it for fun than anything else, and that's maybe where the strategy stuff comes back in and you move away from the online a bit more.
Really good point.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is that people think that this is all very new. Like, let's all just bear in mind this stuff was still going on while people had dial-up. Like video games and stuff like that. Like, you can look at all the different old consoles and stuff like that. They still had online. The GameCube had online capabilities where you could play against each other. So there's always been that social aspect. But what I do think is it's mainstream media, and I think that the only way that you can keep a game and make a game profitable to a level that people are like, wow, is to incorporate that social element, to make it that online, place, basically. Because you look at the likes of Fortnite and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That is something where it is purely online, it is purely social, and it's something where people are playing against each other. Whereas if you're getting something, I mean, the game is the game is given out for free. You've got to remember that. Fortnite is free to play.
So how do they make the money?
Well, they make money by obviously through brand partnerships, reskins and stuff like that. Like all of this different stuff. Another good example of how they make money, stuff like this.
Is Mary Poppins bag.
Give me a second. Mary Poppins bag.
What are you going to pull out of there?
Fortnite is something that can go everywhere. This is the exclusive Batman Foundation Fortnite. So this is Fortnite pairing up with something of DC to release a comic, because at the same time, DC are getting money for selling this, but Fortnite are getting money because they can then use Batman within the game and stuff. So this is how it all works.
It's
and
a
this
world
is
of crossovers and brand collaborations.
Exactly that. So
using Batman in the game isn't just they put him there. You have the privilege of paying probably about £8 to make yourself look like Batman in the game.
Exactly.
Times that by however many millions of players they have that might be interested in being Batman, and
you get a nice return.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about like gaming culture and gaming communities. Like, what does that actually mean? Because I feel that's quite a marketing speak, way of saying things. But how would you guys define what like gaming culture is now?
The communities, I guess, have evolved. Back when I started, it was Xfire and TeamSpeak, and they were bits of computer software where you'd have gaming clans. I was part of one when I was a teenager, and it's what is Discord, or I guess Slack.
Yeah, it's Discord.
Slack and Teams. Slack is just professional Discord, basically.
Right.
Where, you know, all these like-minded people get together that all want to play the same game and talk about it, sort of more again on those communities we were mentioning earlier. And yeah, nowadays it's Discord, and that'd be where you find most of these people. If you go on any live streams, that streamer will most likely have their own Discord, which is basically their own chat room specifically for people that are fans of either that influencer.
Yeah.
Most video games will have their own Discord. Some games are very clever with it. Helldivers 2 is a big one. They have it as their like global messaging system almost, because the game's always evolving online. There's always different things happening across this sort of like space system they have, and that's where they'll post the updates. So as the player, when you're part of this nameless, faceless army, that's where you get your orders and then know that there's something new in the game that you should go and explore and take part in.
The gaming community is the most engaged community. And by that, I mean the discussion boards and stuff like that, like we've just talked about. Like, and I might be generalizing, but if we talk about like sports and stuff like that, yes, you have those, you know, where you'll have public pages and stuff like that and discussions. But I would say for video games, for something that is so shareable and can be developed, you've got to remember people can make changes to the games and actually mod the game themselves by actually building something. I'd say it's one of the most interactive and engaging communities that people can be involved with, and I think that's why brands like it as well, because they know they're going to get engagement off of that as well. Whether that be negative or positive, they know that they're going to get engagement off of it, because a gamer will let you know if they like something or don't like something. They won't be quiet about it. They will.
Because they're opinionated, I guess, because they feel like a personal investment in these games.
100%.
It's quite tribal.
You can go all the way back to the tribalism of like the PlayStation, the Nintendo, and, you know, Microsoft all against each other. So Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo all going at each other. They're the big three that go at it for the console wars and stuff like that, right? And one or the other is always claiming victory, minus Nintendo, which, you know, they
don't really partake.
They don't really partake anymore. They know they're their own thing. They're doing their own thing. So, you know, that was a very tribal. There's one title called Rome 2. Very inventive if you base it off what my favourite game was, being Rome. Rome 2, Total War. That now I have about 14 different mods which the community have built for the game that I've installed on my computer that then makes the game different and changes it up for me. So the game never dies. That game never dies. I've got infinite life on that game as long as moderators and stuff like that are creating different variations of that.
Yeah.
Does that just go straight over your head? Because you keep looking at me like someone in Watership Down that's about to see a car coming at them. So tell me.
No, I get it.
I get it.
There's so many moving parts to this.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the point, is that it is incredibly niche and detailed and in depth, and if you're not part of it, it is going to be quite difficult to like authentically connect with those gamers, and they will call brands out specifically
100%.
if they can tell that a brand hasn't kind of done its research to actually understand the community.
A more visible thing of that would be when they first released the Sonic film, and they got all wrong. If you remember the trailer,
brilliant example.
His funny little
his teeth and his eyes.
Yeah,
that's not that. I'm not saying anything wrong there.
It
was literally his teeth and his eyes. It looked horrendous.
It's just the anger in your face.
I was angry. I was one of those people on message boards.
So and they'll let you know that you're doing it wrong, but then that's also, you know, the good thing about working with people like Sam is he knows. So if you come up with ideas, then, you know, we can streamline them and make sure that they're actually something that lands properly within the community.
Yeah. Well, you were telling me earlier about, we work with World of Warcraft, right? One of our clients, and how we have like a super fan of World of Warcraft in
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Sam Anderson, who is a super fan. And so he was kind of like a person to bounce things off and just really make sure, like, 100%. Can I double check this? Because he would be able to be like, no, that's not exactly what happened in this particular game. I can come up with
the strategy, but that's such a niche of game that I've never explored, that you don't want a Sonic situation on your hands where you say the wrong things or you write things that you maybe want in the influencer brief that just aren't correct. And of course, they have their own teams over at Activision Blizzard that help with that as well. But us getting it right looks best for us as well. So having someone like Sam Anderson who already knows all of it and is such a huge fan means that we can bring people like that in and just make sure that we check all the boxes.
It's basically that communities of these specific games will hold your feet to the fire if you screw up anything,
100%.
or if you're not being authentic and you're not connecting in the right way.
100%.
Which means it's quite a scary place for brands to get involved with it unless they're going to.
If you're going to get involved with it, you've got to. It's not a let's dip our toe into the water with this.
Yeah.
It's a right. What are we going to do, and how can we hold ourselves accountable to be a part of this game, and how we're going to make it look authentic, really.
So, what are the ways that endemic and non-endemic brands can get involved with gaming and the gaming culture and community? Because obviously you have the likes of World of Warcraft, where they're a game manufacturer or publisher.
Yeah.
And then you've got like a beauty brand that sometimes, or you said about like getting the skins and stuff in Fortnite, you'll have like Louis Vuitton making a kind of skin for people within Fortnite. So what are the kind of main ways that we see brands getting involved with the gaming world?
Yeah, I think you just mentioned it there as well. Like the easiest one and the one that we see popping up the most is like ones that get synced up with skins on Fortnite. The likes of the DC characters, the Marvel characters, things like that. Like anything that they can do. There was obviously, I'm trying to think. No, apologies, this won't go in. What rapper was it that did his gig in it?
Oh, Astro.
No,
Travis Barker.
Travis
Barker.
Travis Barker.
Yeah.
No, that's the drummer.
No, it's not.
Travis Scott.
Travis Scott.
Yeah.
Travis Scott is a musician, right? But he hosted an entire live gig from within Fortnite and stuff like that. But that was all to go out there to basically promote new music releases and stuff like that. So you've got music coming into those things. You've got the likes of, there are songs that I will listen to now that I enjoy because they used to be on the radio in Grand Theft Auto or something like that. So like, that's the way that some of these brands can slowly get in. If they've got a song that's being released soon and stuff like that, it's easy to get it into as like a soundtrack for a whole screen or something like that. Or alternatively, like we're talking about brands, you know, I work with the guys at Sports Interactive for Football Manager, and they've developed so that where you're playing a football game, you can actually click on the hoarding, like the bits that go around and you can click through and it will take you through to that brand's site.
Right.
So when I'm on there, if I see something that pops up and it'll be like, I don't know, 50% off or something like that, I can click on it and it'll go, oh, right, straight through the site and stuff like that. There's people actually selling that real estate in game.
Immersive and interactive.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of ways that you can do it. We talked about The Sims earlier as well. Beauty brands, fashion brands, always partnering up with stuff like that because they know that they can get stuff into it, whether they're doing it as DLC, which is downloadable content, Matt, as you look at me blankly.
Thank you.
Where people are purchasing these packs, getting it installed, and then have, I don't know, Louis Vuitton's wardrobe or such. But there's quite a lot of ways that people can do it, and it's organic. And yeah, it just adds to the game instead of devaluing the property of the game as well. So
yeah.
But coming out of the game, let's talk a bit about gaming influencers and streamers, because that is obviously a big way of brands working with real life people. And
your brand doesn't need to be gaming to work with these gaming creators. No. And you can build that, even something as simple as having a streamer drink your drink on stream. That could be enough to influence people.
Definitely.
If you go back in the day a little bit, a YouTuber called Syndicate, or the Syndicate Project, he did a whole engineering video with fridge raiders where he built a hands-free helmet that would feed him chicken fridge raiders so he could play games and not have to stop to snack.
Oh, wow.
So something like that, you know, it's completely out there, has nothing to do with fridge raiders other than the fact that it's their product that's being used, but it means that they get all of this limelight. They're in his videos, his live streams, and they've done something fun and creative with him. They've not just sent him a PR box and done nothing else with it. They've actually engaged with him as a creator and done something that even now has to be over 10 years ago. I still remember it as a fun activation because, you know, who does that?
Yeah. Who are the biggest gaming creators now, would you say?
Sam, I think, is number 5
Definitely
in the UK.
not.
And are they mainly on Twitch, or are they YouTube, TikTok? Like, where are people engaging with it?
I think it depends on the type of content you want to consume.
Yeah.
There's creators that are bigger on TikTok than anywhere else and
Really?
sometimes struggle to convert that because they're known for having those like short clips that you see of them.
Right.
This is quite big in like the horror community. There's a lot of creators that, you know, do the big scared reactions and things, but then maybe sometimes struggle to convert that into long form viewers. But then of course you have all your classic streamers. In terms of the biggest, I don't know, I don't know if he counts as gaming, but I'd certainly still put him in it. It would be someone like Mr. Beast. I think just
Well, he does have a gaming channel, doesn't he?
The audience, he has his Beast Gaming, but also just the people that watch his videos. I imagine
and this is what we're
there's a lot
talking
of
about, the
alignment
bleed
there.
of that audience.
Yeah.
That audience doesn't just cover gaming anymore, because I think that the gaming community is actually opened up a lot more. It used to be like, oh, that's something for the nerds and stuff like that. Whereas now you do get people that they will dabble in one game or something like that, or they get involved, or they'll watch the content because they do enjoy watching the content. Like during COVID, we also had the mass craze of Among Us as well, where everybody was playing
Even
that.
I played that, actually.
Well,
a little
exactly.
bit,
So there we go. So everybody was playing this game, and you know, people were watching the content for people's reactions. So they were consuming gaming content, you know. And for me, I'm not. I do watch some people live, but weirdly enough, I watch it more for the personality. I'm not really interested in FIFA, but for whatever reason, I will still tune in to watch a bit of Pieface now and then, just because I find his vlogs absolutely hilarious, because he's a Plymouth Argyle man, as you know.
Just down the road.
Just down the road from you. There's one channel called Mind Pulp, which is a British guy, an American guy. You never see them, but they literally do walkthroughs with voiceovers where they will play through the levels and talk about how ridiculous this game was, the glitches in the game, how did we pay for this, how did we enjoy this, and it's just nostalgia. I think it's one of the greatest currencies in gaming currently, because we are at a stage where we can all look back. It was only a couple of years ago that we had the re-release of the Crash Bandicoot games, the Spyro games, all of these games that, you know, I grew up with as a child on the PS1 have now been remastered. Will I pay to play them again? Damn right I will. And it's me getting them onto a new console, new graphics, and all looking great.
New and improved.
New and improved. Nostalgia is something that really, like, I think there's a real key area of gaming that,
Was it you who worked on the Deep Silver Saints Row campaign that we did a few years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about that? Because I remember that. I think we got shortlisted for a few awards for that.
We did.
Campaign.
I think that was the biggest thing that we get here at Go is we get asked to promote games without gamers. Generally, that's the biggest thing that comes through. We can do it. Come to us. We know loads of them. We can chat to them. But the God's honest truth is, I always say that the gaming industry was probably the first to invent influencer marketing, because getting a game out there with people's faces on and getting them to play it and explain how it happened was basically the backbone of any game magazine that ever used to come out. So generally, we get requests where it's like, actually, we send this out to about 40 influencers in-house. We don't need anybody to review the game. Can you make us some cool content that's going to stand out versus what the game is? So
it's going to like build some awareness, get some excitement.
So what we worked with about 8 creators that sort of, if you were to look at them, their audience would come in and bleed into the gaming stuff, but not one of them played any gameplay really in their videos. We had maybe a segment of a couple of minutes and stuff like that. But what we did was we tried to bring the game into real life. So we had one creator who was like, right, how many video game myths can I bust? So can I jump out of a plane while landing onto a moving vehicle? Can I jump out of a plane and then be able to tackle a policeman realistically? All these different sort of tricks and stuff like that. We brought that to life into a YouTube video. Yeah. We did a video with Josh and Archie, one of my favourite pieces of content. That was to basically try and hack the music charts, because they'd worked out that one sale of a song equated to about 600 streams. So the plan was, how much money would we need to invest to actually get people to then, well, to basically propel their song up to the charts. And I think we got to 15 was the highest we got to. But go and check the video out. I feature. It's a great video just to be like, right, is there something that we can tangibly change in the real world if we were pulling off like a heist or something like that, which you would do in the game of Saints Row? It was really cool. We've just done it with World of Warcraft as well, where we didn't use gamers. We used people that were like, how can we use a blacksmith that can create the weapons? How can we work with a Nordics-based rocker who created big like metal anthems of the appearance of a god in the World of Warcraft and stuff like that. Like all these different things that have gathered hundreds of thousands of views. They're raising awareness, but it's not necessarily just for the gaming, but it is for those that would be interested in it and almost would think about revisiting or dip their toes into gaming. So yeah,
because otherwise you're just sort of, you're kind of preaching to the choir in a way. If you just go to niche gamers already, they probably are already going to buy that game.
That's
so
exactly.
if you want
World of Warcraft objective was,
they know they're going to buy it.
They weren't interested in people who would go and play the game on a live stream. They've got that covered anyway in-house. But also those people are already subscribed. They're going to stay subscribed. They're the people that always come back and learn. They wanted people sort of more, I guess, like Sam Anderson, that have maybe taken a little bit of a break from the game and need that reason to come back, because World of Warcraft subscription based, you have to pay a monthly fee to be able to play it.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So they need people to come and sign up like you would to Netflix almost to be able to come back and play the game. So we were trying to reach them through creators that don't do video games, that aren't part of World of Warcraft, but would still touch those players' interests, so they get triggered back into that sort of like funnel of learning more and more about what this new release is going to be. So they then end up back with those original creators that they have handled and can learn more about it and then resubscribe that way.
So if a brand or whether a gaming brand or a kind of regular non-gaming brand came to us wanting to connect with the gaming community, what would be some of the things you might look at from like a strategy perspective or a client perspective to like start with if you were looking at planning a campaign, an influencer campaign?
Demographic of that brand first off, to work out who's purchasing it. Then I'm looking at that demographic, and then I'm looking at the most popular games within that demographic, try and work out whether I'm putting it into a first person shooter, an RPG. Am I putting it into something like we talked about with The Sims or something like that? Like, you've got to try and get a full understanding of that audience, because if you don't get it right, it won't fly, and they will tell you about it, as we've already noted. So I would say that that's the biggest part. And then it's trying to establish that with the client to be like, right, we think that this is the perfect place for you, and these are the reasons why as well.
Yeah, if we don't get it right, then we won't be picking the right influencers. And again, trying to make it authentic to them is also really important. If we pick someone who plays The Sims all the time to then jump into a Call of Duty or a World of Warcraft, it won't sit with their viewers. No one will care that they're playing the game. And it like with any product, it needs to fit the influencers we're using there.
Yeah.
I think gaming, more than anything, like, you can't fake your way into a community, because almost the language and like everything around it is specifically tailored towards that game. It has its own verbiage normally.
We couldn't throw you on a Twitch stream and just expect you to. The chat. If we put you on some popular streamer's channel, you probably wouldn't be able to understand what they're saying.
Well, even some of the things that you've been saying in this
that.
podcast, you say like a little acronym or something, and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
I don't think you'd know half of the things that are being
We
said
should have
to you
done
at
some
times.
questions back. Is poggers a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't, me being pog. What?
Exactly.
Explain.
It's primarily a Twitch term, but it's a good thing. It's that's great. It's just
that's poggers.
That's poggers. Yeah.
Anything else?
I'm sure there's more history behind it, but that's as far as my knowledge on that goes.
So what do brands get wrong then often, would you say? Have you seen any examples, maybe without calling any names out particularly, or you can call them out if you want.
I think the one thing that people get wrong is they always look at the biggest talent at times. And I think that's not the way to go at times. Like, people will automatically, for whatever reason, when they think gaming, they think Sidemen. And it's like, we've all, you know, as big as they are and as relevant as they still are, which they 100% are, and they've got their niche, they've moved on from the gaming that they used to do. Like that was their origins in regards to like KSI posting FIFA videos and stuff like that. They've moved on from that community a bit more now. The community is still there and people within that demographic are gaming, but I would say that you're paying a much bigger premium to speak to that audience when you could go for someone that's of a mid-tier level to go and speak to them and see what you can do with them on a longer term basis. It'll be a little bit more realistic of getting face to camera, authentic reviews of your product or have a conversation about your product versus going to the side men, which, you know, they've got a million and one things probably happening in their lives at time. I think that that's one of the big watch outs.
So go niche.
I would say go niche, but it's just about, again, we've talked about it so many times, it's breaking the gaming vertical into the different verticals because you have to. If we're talking about beauty brands, like let's say we partner a beauty brand up with a couple of influencers that do Sims content, right? We can beautifully stage that in regards to saying, right, okay, let's do a get ready with me piece of content for a stream or something like that. Like female influencers that are getting ready to go live on Twitch. What's their routine? Stuff like that. The people that watch them are still interested in that. They just don't want to see the gameplay. They're invested in that person in the same way that you invest in an influencer. So they want to know, what is their makeup routine? What are they getting ready for? Are they doing cosplay and stuff like that? What do they do for that cosplay? Like
that dedication's a really good point as well. And again, something you mentioned about you watch the people you watch for their personality.
100%.
So true, because you spend so much time watching gaming creators. I'm very much like a player 2 kind of person because I have an older brother. So I was always watching him play games. So I very much more associate myself with watching streams and watching YouTube videos as well as playing. But I love watching Markiplier and that kind of thing. But audiences are so much more dedicated because they give over so much more of their time to gaming creators. If you're scrolling Instagram and someone's promoting the latest, you know, concealer, you don't choose to see that influencer content and know it's great, and you might trust that beauty influencer and what they're saying about that beauty product. You probably haven't specifically gone on Instagram and searched them up to go and find them and then try and watch their latest video, especially when you know it has an ad in it. Whereas you will actively choose to go and find your favorite streamer or your favorite YouTube channel who are playing video games, and they'll post a video that will be an hour long or a 2-hour video, and you'll be like, oh, what a treat. Extra long episode today. Like, you know, you don't mind watching them because you're watching them. The game almost becomes redundant in a lot of this content.
Definitely. I was about to say that the game at points is redundant. It's the story of how they interact with the game and how the community, like you will see people in the chat who are regulars and stuff like that, and they'll get called out by that person, be like, whoa, you're back and stuff like that. Like that sort of community is what people are going for. Like, and we're talking about dedication and stuff like that. You know, you got to remember, some of these people will be on a stream for 6 to 7 hours playing that game with these people, and people are sitting there for the ride. Like they are watching along a live episode. You think about that.
Not just watching as well, sending money.
Sending money, donations.
Are a huge thing in gaming.
You donate?
I have donated,
I have done in the past, subscribed as well, because if you subscribe on Twitch, it gets rid of the ads and they get a bit of a kickback from that.
Yeah, I've done that. If you're on Amazon Prime, you get one subscription for free every single month to someone on Twitch.
But can you think if you were watching your favorite TikTok or Instagram person, and then you just decide to send them a tenner because you like what they're doing so much that you feel like you should be paying them to do it because they give you that much entertainment.
They're content creators. They're not really gamers at this point, are they? They're creating entertaining content. And it's almost like with what we see on YouTube, where you get a lot of, and TikTok, you get a lot of reaction videos that almost displace the original content that they're reacting to. We more want to watch people.
We want the reaction.
People's commentary.
The commentary. You're right.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Actually, one thing, because you sort of touched on female gamers and things, I think there still is a bit of a pervasive stereotype that gaming is a man's thing.
Very much so.
That's not the case, though, really, is it? Yeah.
No, 100%. I think that the especially on streams and stuff like that, I would say that quite a lot is done by female gamers, and I think that a lot of games now, more so than ever, are being released for the female audience as well in regards to that style of game and stuff like that. And I'd say that probably some of those games are probably ending up being more profitable than the likes of what would be seen as, like, I hate to use this generalization, but like man's game in regards to FPS shoots and stuff like that. But you know, I've seen plenty of female creators play that game, and then I've seen plenty of them create content around, like we talked about, like cozy gaming and stuff like that. Like I play, like they'll be on streams for like 5 hours straight playing Stardew Valley or something like that. Like it's completely different. But I think there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of actually bringing them and sort of championing a lot of them. And I think that, you know, that's the whole concept as well. And I would love to say that it's fully gone from where it was, where the audiences used to be. We've talked about how vocal gamers are, like those communities. I would love to say that it's all squeaky clean. It's not. And by that, I mean comments and stuff like that having to be removed and moderate. Like each one of these Twitch streams will have people that are dedicated moderators that will be removing the different comments that potentially.
Your comments.
Well, no, not my. Why have you got to ruin my flow?
Well, no, but that is a good point of that, you know, there's so much good around the gaming world.
Yeah.
But there, from an outsider's perspective and someone who isn't into gaming, there can seem this quite negative aspect to it, especially when you sort of look at games like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty, a lot of violence, a lot of kind of glorified violence, often quite. No, but I'm saying, you know, it is true, like quite sort of sexist views of women often. Is that a problem?
I mean, two of the games you've mentioned are 18+ games. And
but I remember playing Grand Theft Auto when I was about 11.
Well, see, and that's part of the debate, is how much of this sits with parents to moderate their kids and their access to these games. If you see a 12-year-old playing Grand Theft Auto, maybe that shouldn't be happening. Not saying that isn't what happened when I was younger, but if that's a concern. And there was an article, actually, I think it was the CEO of Roblox the other day was saying this, because there's a lot of kids playing that game and they of course have a lot of safeguarding measures in, but he's trying to push that a little bit more onto the parents and say, if you're concerned about your kids playing Roblox, don't let them play it.
Yeah.
What is Roblox actually? Can we go into that?
Roadblocks.
What's Roblox?
It's a sandbox game where you can create basically any game you want within it. It teaches a lot of skills around sort of like game programming and that kind of thing. So if you had a mini game you wanted to make, it would be pretty much free and relatively easy for you to do that in Roblox. So it's basically a game engine almost, but it's really, really simple for people to use. As a child, you can jump in there and make a game for you and your friends to play that has all sorts of interactive elements and so on.
You just described that to him in a way with words that still didn't make sense to him. You know.
You can make...
If you wanted to make a game of Pass the Parcel, right, you could go on that and basically program it really simply to be Pass the Parcel where you play it.
Why would I want to do that?
You could do anything.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be that. There's no limit.
People have made Call of Duty in it.
Yeah.
Have made horror games that are actually scary in this game, and that's where some of that concern comes from.
Because brands will have their own Roblox,
we've done a campaign.
Sort of
you did a campaign,
right?
Didn't you?
We did one with Rexona, who's also known as Shaw in Europe, deodorant, because they were working with FIFA. And again, for that year, we had some people doing like some skill tricks with footballs and that kind of stuff. And they built their own entire custom world. And this is something that I'm actually doing a bit more research into at the moment, is how to advertise further within Roblox, not just in terms of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars creating your own crazy custom, you know, FIFA
parcel game,
parcel game or FIFA themed world with all of this time and investment and money. And because those worlds usually aren't really very relevant. If you went to go and make a big branded world, it lives when your campaign's running, but after that it dies. Whereas there's a lot more value maybe in sponsoring some of those top games that have been made by other creators within Roblox, and then just advertising within them or tailoring the games that already exist there to fit what you want your brand to do.
Okay.
That was really interesting. How do you know what Roblox is?
Because I read about it. Isn't it also that brands can create they can often create their own stores and stuff in a Roblox, a physical store experience where you could go into
you could go in, buy something,
Fendi.
and then it'll come through in the real world.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I've seen and spoken to people whose entire thing is basically investing in Roblox in virtual clothing items that they'll buy at one price and then sell later on for another.
Kind of like NFT.
Sat there with
they're basically doing
thousands
digital
of dollars.
vinted.
Yeah, digital vinted. But you can
Okay.
cash this money out. Roblox currency can be converted back to real money.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. You're having me on now.
But this is the whole thing, in comparison, Fortnite and stuff like that. You buy V-Bucks on Fortnite, that's it. It's gone. You use it on store. Roblox, you can make money in Roblox and then take that out.
Your entire business could be Roblox based. You could.
Yeah, there are people that will work just on Roblox.
Yeah.
Jack,
So-
are you thinking about opening a podcast house in Roblox? Virtual, we could
Let's
set
get
it
a
up for you.
Roblox podcast
Yeah.
studio.
Yeah.
You could host live podcasts in Roblox.
So one other game I want to chat about before we sort of start to wrap up. Balatro.
Balatro.
You mentioned
Biggest
that earlier.
game of the year, right? Or last year? It was.
Last year, I think
But-
it won.
Yeah, what is Balatro and why did it take off? And is there anything that advertisers can learn from gaming techniques to apply to their own advertising strategy?
Balatro is a very specific game.
I was gonna
It's
say,
almost like
you
an
explain this.
instant cult classic game. It's exceptionally addictive, and it's a one-off price, which is very rare, again, to just pay a price and have a game. And everything they've ever released after these little mini expansions have just been updates. They don't plan on charging for anything else as far as I'm aware. But the concept of the game is almost, well, it's just make poker hands. You have your deck and it will give you a load of cards and you have to make the best poker hand, like a straight flush or a royal flush, this, that, and the other, and you get points for doing it. That's like the simple basic explanation. There's then I guess a more technical one, which is you get joker cards, which will make your points multiply. There's add-ons you can get for all your cards in your hand, but it's a roguelike game, which means if you fail, you go back to the beginning with none of the upgrades that you previously had. So you start again with just a completely basic deck and have to go from there.
Would I have played this on the plane?
Maybe.
No,
Definitely not.
No. Okay. Sorry.
no, this only came out last
Yeah.
year.
But do you think that there is something, not just necessarily Balatro, but when we think of the most successful games, what are the things that make them so popular and addictive? And is there something that we as advertisers could take from that to apply to our own marketing strategies?
Tell us, nerds.
Yeah, what makes games popular? I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes it's random. It's like what makes songs popular, I guess.
It could be really random. You look at Flappy Bird.
Excuse me.
You've seen Flappy
Flappy Bird?
You know
Where
Flappy
you
Bird.
tap
yeah.
on the screen and the
You
bird
tap
sort
on
of
it and
Oh,
so the
yeah,
bird
yeah,
literally
yeah.
went around.
That game,
That was everywhere.
That game made so much money that the developer got scared, deleted it from the App Store, and gave up making games forever.
Yeah.
Why?
He made like
What?
$17 million.
17 million.
And
He
went,
made it
and he
just
got-
in a joke and been
and
like, right, yeah, I'm going to
it
put this
wasn't
out there.
supposed to be serious. He
It
didn't
wasn't-
realize that he was getting
And
money.
people absolutely loved it.
Mm.
So what, you don't know what's going to be.
It's like what itches your brain in a good
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
something that just kind of it has to be easy enough that you can reasonably do it and you can
And there's got-
you can see a point to it,
Yeah.
because I think sometimes when games there's no point,
Yeah.
it can feel you can get very bored of it, but then at the same time it's still got to be difficult enough that you want to keep trying and you don't
Yeah.
complete it too easily.
I think a hard one is having something that's new and fresh that people haven't seen as well,
Yeah.
or haven't experienced.
Mm.
So Balatro blew up out of nowhere, and that was a little indie studio. So it's not like they had tons of money for marketing anyway, because it's something that people haven't done. And the word of mouth on TikTok for that game was crazy. People basically sold it on the basis that they couldn't stop playing it, and this was a completely, again, like UGC generated campaign. They didn't trigger anything here. People were just playing it because someone had told someone that they should, and realized very quickly that the game itself was brilliant, even though it was such a simple concept. And then you have the complete opposite with your Activision, Blizzard, and people like that have huge budgets and know exactly how they want to market a game because they know exactly how to hit their audiences. And I think influencers can be involved in both sides of this, because you can do the large sweeping campaigns like we've done with Apex Legends, even, where we bring in everyone possible, pull out all the stops, do these crazy VFX videos and high production campaigns, and reach millions of people. But that's because a game like Apex Legends targets so many people that would be willing to play it. Or you can work with little games like Balatro that maybe just need a few videos put together. They did technically do influencer marketing. They had the chap who is a voice actor in Baldur's Gate 3 dress up as a clown, and they ran a paid ad with him to sort of introducing a bunch of little DLCs and things, and that was like their main hero asset for them promoting the game once they got a bit of money behind them.
Amazing.
I think the uniqueness of games that you touched on, I think, is really important now, and I think it is something that weirdly enough, I won't love a game sometimes, but if it's unique enough or different enough from what I've seen recently, then I'm like, yeah. A couple of years ago, my favorite game was Ghost of Tsushima, right? It was rave reviews and it was well received, but the game itself just brought something that I hadn't seen in a long time in terms of story, narrative, ancient Japan and stuff like that. I hadn't seen that for a long time. And weirdly enough, there was another game, which I don't think it was well reviewed as well, but it was a game called Sifu. And I thought the mechanic of it was really interesting because it was based in China, and you played this, I think you played a martial art expert, but every time you died, the character got older. So by the time you finished the game, you were an old man because you died so many times in the build up to the end. Like, that's an interesting element that I hadn't seen in a game before. So there's got to be those unique parts that...
It's really experimenting with storytelling. I think that's what
storytelling
gaming allows you to do.
Massive.
Split Fiction's a big one that's taking off right now with that, which is a 2-player game.
Yeah.
Is it Take-Two Interactive?
Yeah.
So they've had a couple of games now that are 2-player games, split screen. You can do it online, not just in person, where one of you is doing one part of a puzzle and the other one's completing another. And this new Split Fiction game they've just released takes it to a completely different level, where one of you is in like a fantasy world while the other one's in a sci-fi world, and it splits down the middle, but the camera split can like change angles depending on the puzzles. And it's I saw a video of these people as like pigs in a meat grinder, and they're like rabbits hopping around the place. And one, I guess, is a good visualization, is like going down a slide, and one of them's in one world and one's in the other, and you have to like jump across the split screen line so you can continue going down the slide versus falling into like an abyss.
Personally, I think that level of game, or the social aspect of games, is, and again, this plays on the nostalgia feel of it. I think social gaming is going to become a lot more at home and in person, interestingly enough.
Okay.
Like, I know we've got the elements that we can do it online, but that is a game that really you want two people next to each other and having a laugh and a joke about it.
Yeah.
In the same way that when I'm playing any of my games from like my bag of goodies, like all the nostalgic games, I need my friends in the room.
Yeah.
You know, like there needs to be 4 of us to play Double Dash and stuff like that. And that's where I get most enjoyment out of old school games and stuff like that, is that we're all there, we're sharing the moment in a way. Like, it's great that we can do it online, but I think we're going to see a massive rise of games like that.
Yeah. I think that's actually a good like few points of the kind of what advertisers can learn, is like finding unique ways to tell storytelling, creating shared experiences, and finding that making sure that there's something to hook people in while keeping people interested, but it not feeling too overwhelming. So where is gaming going? You just said you think it's going to become more of that like shared in-home experiences, but if you were saying the next 5 years, like what do you predict the gaming world to be like?
I want to say VR, but it's just not taking off properly.
It's not. We would love it too.
I tried it on New
I
Eve
have a
and
Meta Quest. I used to be a big backer of it, but the money's not there developer side for the games that it needs. The hardware's not there in terms of it being comfortable enough for people to use for long periods of time. I think that's quite a bit further into the future, and it will come eventually. We'll have like Ready Player One level stuff at some point.
Yeah,
we're miles away from that technology. Over the next 5 years, I mean, there'll be more Call of Duties.
Yeah,
simple games work, and simple games are what are making money, and generally it's what people want. They want a simple I think we've become similar with our gaming habits.
Like Simpsons Hit and Run.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just a driving game. And shall we throw the Simpsons in it? Yeah. Do you know what? Shall we just get some characters that we've overused, put them in a car, and get them to throw mushrooms at each other? Yeah, like, learn from what's sold is all I'm saying to you guys. Like, please.
But what about do you think Gen Alpha will play games as much? Like, are we going to still see that much
I think
gaming?
we're going to see a bigger rise of mobile gaming.
I wanted to ask 2 questions.
Right.
One, so all different, actually this one for you, Matt, and maybe for me as well, as kind of different levels of gamers, what's one thing you would want people to take away from this conversation? Or one thing that we learnt as well as kind of non-gamers from this conversation?
I think I've had so much information. I don't think I have learnt. I think I've,
he's less.
fried
he
my
knows
circuit
less.
board.
Yeah.
Good
reference.
I think there's such enormous opportunity for brands, obviously, because this is an industry that has outpaced film and TV. Like it's enormous. And I think that brands are scared to get involved because they haven't got the expertise. You just need to be guided by people that know, and you will find a way in and a way to connect with audiences. And, it will be very rewarding for you. Money, money, money.
What about you
Level
two?
up your marketing.
If you could leave people with one thing.
Don't just generalize the audience of gaming. The gaming audience is very diverse, and there's multitudes of different ways that you can speak to them. You do not just need to speak to them with people with glasses that sit around and probably spend too much time in a screen, but there are multitudes of people that do have an interest in this, and you can speak to them in any sort of way, and you should explore it with people that understand the market really and the audience, because ultimately if you go into it with nobody, you're really going to be sort of shooting fish in a barrel really with us, because again, we're giving you the expertise of that.
I think one of the big ones is, even with gaming brands that are marketing their own games, working with us with influencers can give you a completely different perspective that maybe your internal teams didn't have, because we also then have that specialism of influencers specifically, and find those niches that maybe you didn't think would work within your game that will, because we can identify people that would be interested that otherwise you might have excluded.
Yeah, great. And then a final little fun question. If you could design your perfect game, what would it be?
I'd do it in Roadblock.
If you say Roadblock one more time.
Are you going to put Lara Croft in it?
Yeah. He just has loads of Lara Crofts with...
You can do that.
Yeah, you could build Lara Croft.
Yeah.
Lara Croft
to the dimensions you want.
Well, because I would like one that was set either, because I'm quite into history, either during the Tudors or like Versailles, kind of French Revolution. And so I'd quite like some kind of game that was set around then, like running around the Tudor palaces, and you've got to like escape as one of Henry VIII's wives, escape
Yeah,
with
I
your
like
head.
that. I'd play that.
A lot more.
Right, well, go and play Assassin's Creed, because that'll give you exactly pretty much what you're after.
Off with her head, I'd
well,
call
you
it.
can do the
Ooh, love
French.
that.
You can do the French Revolution one, where
Okay.
you basically are an assassin within the
Oh.
French Revolution, running through palace to palace.
Oh, it's already been made.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you've got that one. You can't do the Tudors, I'll admit, but there is one set in London, but it's Victorian England, so
Oh, wow.
it's a bit different.
An Assassin's
Few
Creed in
hundred years
Victorian
later.
England.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, they're weirdly enough, one of their bases is in Battersea, which of course is where we are right now, and you see the streets of Battersea, and they mapped it out as the city. So yeah, I would say my perfect game would be similar to yourself, historical, strategy, but with an element of being able to actually take control of some of the people that are actually on the ground and stuff like that. For the gamers watching, I understand that I've pretty much described Bannerlord or something like that, but the fact is that Mount and Blade, but the actual, I think that is something that's quite immersive that still is there to be done in that strategy space, that people do like to switch between the two. Another game that I would absolutely love to see, right, really good concept, just Adam and Eve.
That's cool.
Adam and Eve, but
In
then
the
you can
garden.
get all the way up to
The tree.
24th century, 25th, and keep going and going and going until, like, I don't know, like, plague comes in, Frost comes in. It's that whole city simulator. I love it. But starting from like day dot on the Earth, right? Where are we going to start civilization? Are we going to start civilization here, here, here?
You remind me of that old game, you know, where you had like the defense game where you'd have to level up your thing all the way through from caveman all the way to the top.
All the way to the top.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good picture again. I think
Okay.
that one, that's good.
My perfect game is, I think, technically in development mode at the moment, which is they're converting Baldur's Gate 3 into a tabletop version. So Baldur's Gate 3, or Baldur's Gate is basically based within the D&D universe. And they're making a playable tabletop version so you and your friends can play Dungeons and Dragons with a virtual tabletop. So at the moment, the way you play D&D in real life is usually with like a whiteboard and someone just draws it with a pen, and it's fine. And if you have a good imagination, it's great. But if you have aphantasia, where you can't imagine things when you're reading a book, or someone tells you to picture a spinning elephant in your head and you just don't see one, having a visual reference would be really cool for that. And they're working on something like that right now, so you can design your characters and put them in. So all you need is someone to lay a screen down on a table. You can even play at home on Discord and play D&D that way, but have a virtual environment to play in. So you've got all of the real references there for that. Or Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, just bring that back and don't touch it. Just re-release it.
See, I want Call of Duty World at War.
Oh, classic.
Call of Duty.
Original zombies.
I really have a real thing for history games and stuff like that. Like, has to have some sort of historical thing.
Yeah.
When we were kids, we were very much part of the games culture that saw games that are around, franchises and stuff like that, start to come to the front. And the games we played weren't as violent and stuff like that as they potentially are today. But I think that's because we pushed that boundary. I would say that the aging and stuff like that now it does need to be watched, because there's a lot of stuff that is out there. And I think that it's a lot easier to get a hold of stuff because of the lack of physical copies. You know, there is not a you know, I used to try it all the time. I'd go in with the new Call of Duty, take it up to the desk and be like, well, you're not 16 or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, well.
And your parents could literally confiscate the game.
Exactly.
You know, they could take it away. It's
They
harder
could
to
take
do
that
that
away.
now.
Now you have got to take away the entire console. But I wanted to make a point, because I do think there's a lot of I do think there's a lot of fair points that there's a need to be better moderation about stuff, and we know it needs to be done with social media. And I think that there's part of that with gaming, where actually if we were to look at gaming in a different light from how Discord works, there's potentially something that could be learned of how we moderate social media, in the same way with creators having moderators, stuff like that are live and dedicated to specific channels potentially.
Well, I've learned a lot about gaming. What about you?
I definitely feel like I have, from reading more about gaming and kind of speaking to people in the world about it, I feel like I get more that it's just such a huge thing. It's not like a silly little thing that people play in their bedroom. It's like an entire creating world. Thank you so much for both of you for giving up your time and coming to educate me and Matt all about the world of gaming.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Can I fart now?